So, do you need a professional wrestling school in order to become a professional wrestler? Hell yes, you do. You definitely need a pro wrestling school to be a legit pro wrestler. Sorry, you're not going to learn the craft in your backyard or hanging out with your buddies. People aren't going to take you seriously unless you take your professional wrestling seriously, and that's by actually committing time and money to going to a professional wrestling school. So, what are the perks of learning at a professional wrestling school? First off, you get to learn how to work safely. If any of you guys have been to a backyard show or have seen backyard wrestling, a lot of it is just wrestling that you did when you were in your teens and you had no clue the repercussions of the damage that you were doing to your body because they were just one-off things and you would just dust yourself off and deal with it. At an actual professional wrestling school, not only will you learn how to protect yourself, but you'll be able to protect the partners that you'll be working with, and you'll be able to build that trust of when you are working a show with somebody that you've never met or that you've never worked with before, that you both will be able to perform effectively and still be able to walk home after the show intact. Also, you get access to a ring. And again, I go back to backyard wrestling because some of those rings are super scary. A good ring is not cheap. You can't just build a ring from stuff you find at Home Depot and your cousin Jimmy took a carpentry class once, so he's basically building you a big bed frame. That's not how that works. Most rings that are legit are going to run you thousands, we're talking maybe tens of thousands of dollars just to start. Also, another perk of learning at a professional wrestling school is most schools have a promotion to showcase your newly learned skills. So if you want to actually be on stage, or in this case, in a wrestling ring, which a wrestling school that's legit will have, you'll be able to show all that hard work that you put in to learning the craft and using that platform to help you hone your craft and get better, especially with access to an actual audience. A lot of people, when they leave professional wrestling school, or when they leave just any school, they think they have what it takes to perform whatever areas that they learned just because, oh, I studied it for months, years, whatever, but they never had a chance to apply it and learn on the fly. And this is kind of where you get that built-in experience and you can see what actually works and what doesn't. Lastly, while you are showcasing your skills in that promotion that most wrestling schools have, you now have a built-in network for other gigs. So people that know that you've been to wrestling school and have worked with a good trainer with proven success, they will at least be open to you working for their promotion based on the skills that you have and good word of mouth by the trainer that you work under. So now that we've established that you, in fact, do need a professional wrestling school in order to be taken seriously as a professional wrestler, let's go over the costs and the time frame that's going to take for you to learn the craft. So I've seen in my own research that the costs of schools usually are reflected by the legitimacy or the proven success of the people that are actually training at those schools. So, for instance, I know that Lance Storm runs a school up in Canada. He has a 12-week full-time program that is going to run you, I think the last price was over $4,000 Canadian. The Wild Samoans down in Florida, they run a school that runs about $5,000 for cost of tuition. The school that I go to, I pay anywhere between $200 to $300 a month, and that is considered cheap. So if you are looking at going to a pro wrestling school, you have to consider that you're going to have to make a couple grand at least in order for you to have the opportunity to go train and learn. Time frames, like I mentioned before, Lance Storm's program is 12 weeks. That is full time. You are treating this as your profession. I'm assuming about 8 hours every day, Monday through Friday. But if you want to check it out for yourself, go look up Lance Storm's wrestling school. You can Google search that. And the program that I'm at, Level Up Pro Wrestling, if you're in the San Diego area, trained with B-Boy, shout out. His program depends on your own progression, but we work out about 8 to 10 hours a week, usually after normal business hours. We try to get in our training where we can fit it in. And most people, on average, will get through that program in about a year. So knowing that you might have to commit between 12 weeks for a full-time program to up to a year for a part-time program, and that the costs are in the thousands of dollars, what should you look for with committing this large sum of money for a lot of people and this large sum of time? So I'm going to treat this info session as if you have never stepped into any type of gym, martial arts studio, anything that involves learning a physical art. So you want to look for, number one, a trainer with proven success. So that proven success usually comes through their own career and accolades, their own skill set, and what they've done to take care of their limitations. And also the students that have successfully progressed through their school under their training. And that's probably going to be the biggest factor. I've actually trained at a few different martial arts gyms, and I'm not going to name names because that's disrespectful. But in some of the schools that I have attended or I've sat in on, some of them have had fantastic athletes with awesome ability and skill set as their instructors or trainers, but they couldn't teach worth shit. So just because a wrestler in this case was fantastic in whatever promotion that they were at does not necessarily make them a good teacher or a good trainer. But you can always ask around, talk to students, find out the pros and cons of working with those specific trainers, and you need to make a decision for yourself on whether that coach is going to be right for you. Second, you need to check out the facility and you need to see that they have a quality ring. And a quality ring doesn't mean that it's super clean and super new, but a quality ring should be safe enough that you won't hurt yourself performing the maneuvers, the basics, through no fault of your own, because the ring isn't going to snag you or break on you, all those types of things. We had talked earlier in this video about how the rings aren't cheap. Well, good rings aren't cheap. So you need to make sure that you're in a sturdy ring with good ropes, good turnbuckles, like just heavy metal sturdiness, because that thing is going to be holding you as you and 200-pound plus other people are going to be bumping and throwing and wrecking themselves into that ring. Lastly, when you do tour the facility, you need to make sure that you are in a good atmosphere. And to me, I think the atmosphere is the most important. One of the things about professional wrestling where it gets a bad rep is there can definitely be a toxic culture in schools or promotions and everything in between. A reason for this toxic culture is that a lot of people that are interested in becoming wrestlers or fighters or basically selling their bodies for money, it can draw some seedy characters. Now, the business, it seems, has at least gotten better about that. And I know that in my own local area that we are in a time where wrestlers and promoters that treat others like crap or do really shady, underhanded stuff are few and far between. And the ones that do try to get away with that stuff don't last that long in the business or in the area. So they have to move in order to find work. But it should be a good atmosphere. You should want to train. You should have a good time with the people that you're around. I came from a military background. I spent 10 years of my life getting yelled at, taking corporal punishment for a lot of things that I didn't necessarily do. But the reason why I was able to eat it and take those crazy words and yelling and military nonsense is they paid me. I got paid to do that. That was just part of the gig. If you are paying for a professional wrestling school and people are still talking at you a certain way that is degrading, demeaning, and ultimately doesn't help you in some form or fashion, then find a better place. There are tons of schools. And if you don't live in an area where there are schools, well, if you are that interested in learning how to become a professional wrestler, you're going to have to move. I mean, it sucks, but that is just the nature of life. If you want something that bad, you will go seek it and you will make the moves to make it happen. So, on that note, pro wrestling schools, if you're in the San Diego area and you're looking for a professional wrestling school to go train at Level Up Pro Wrestling, run by B-Boy. He is a 20-plus year veteran in the game, and he's continuing to work while also training his students. And the people that I have gotten a chance to work with in my own training, from the absolute beginners like myself all the way to seasoned pros that I had not even fathomed of interacting with, it just continues to amaze me. I've been really fortunate and so thankful of the experience that I've had thus far with the program and the people that I've got to interact with. So if you're looking for that, and it has, like, the program itself has all the perks that I talked about. The cost is relatively cheap compared to other programs, but you're still getting a lot of value. And you get to live in this awesome city of San Diego. Come join us. Come drop in. Tell them that you heard about the program from Bo Pro Wrestling. And I will see you on the mats. Special thanks to my Patreon supporters, Adrian Astrofox Salas, Laura Sugar Mama Stevens, and my newest patron, thank you so much, Andrea What a Maneuver Waterbury. So, if you haven't heard about Patreon, obviously most of you watch this video through the Patreon website. I am always appreciative of my subscribers on YouTube and my Patreon subscribers. You guys are fantastic. This has been an awesome experience so far. I love putting out these videos every week, and I've gotten fantastic notes from friends and family. So that means people are watching. So thank you so much for watching. Again, links are below. If you have comments, please throw them down on there. I'm also going to leave a link up to the Level Up Pro Wrestling School if you're interested. And until next time, good luck training.